Going live. Should be live. And we're on. Excellent. Okay. Good morning, everybody. I am just making sure I'm set up here. If you can see, I'm not in my usual place. I'm at my mom's house. And we're going to do just a quick short one here. I'm down here to have some fun, enjoy time with my mom, and just uh, take care of a few things that need taken care of. So I always, give people a few minutes to kind of be able to log on. I hope everybody who does log on can is able to hear me and that I'm getting good reception. It looks to me like things are running okay. And so, but as always, just to start today, I'm going to try to do a quick summary. Just to do a really short show. For those of you who are used to tuning in for an hour, it's not going to happen today. I've got some things to do. But what we are going to do is I'm going to do a summary. I'm going to try to summarize all this other stuff up. I hope that you guys are able to see me. Let me go back between these screens and see. Okay, I see that nobody is on yet. And so it kind of gives me the freedom to do whatever I want, right? But let me go and what we'll do. There we go. We got some people popping in. Good morning, Sue and Diana. So what I'm going to do is, like I said, I was just mentioning I'm going to just do a quick summary today and not spend as much time because I'm down in West Virginia. But I always like to start, and it's interesting how this Bible verse always just pops out. And this is from Psalms 19:14. May the words of my mouth and this meditation of my heart be pleasing in your sight, Lord, my rock and my redeemer. I mean, yeah, I hope that what I have to say today is pleasing, that you guys enjoy this. And because I'm going to blast through some things, and we're going to try to do a summary. We're going to summarize everything that we're talking about. I'm going to give you the concepts of bioelectric chemistry and why I do this and where we are, just to kind of bring it together for you. We always have to go back to basics to get an understanding, right? You got to start with some foundation. And so this show is kind of I'm going to do 15 minutes, hopefully. And this show is hopefully going to be a foundation of where we are. I'm going to just again, Sue, Diana, Marty, Rowan, Linda, good morning. Andy's not here. I'm down, again, I'm at my mom's house, so I'm just going to run something quick and simple. So what I want to do is go back and just summarize what do we believe and why do we believe it and how do I do this in a very short period of time so people can turn around and say, wait a minute, I want to know about this stuff, but I'm not going to watch that guy for an hour sit there and ramble, because I do that sometimes if you haven't noticed, right? But what we want to do is say, hey, there's a model of health, and I want to break that out. And so we're going to start with the restorative health model. And and so when we're looking at this, we're looking at a basis. On the left side, you see total amount of stress. Okay, and so those stress are physical, mental, emotional, environmental, spiritual. We're looking at something that says, what's the total load on our body? And if you see that graph, there's a blue line that says threshold, and then below it says threshold equals the energy consumed is greater than the energy that you're getting from your food. That's what Reams defined it as. If you're not getting enough energy to take care of what your body needs, something's going to happen. And what our body does is it gives us symptoms. It's like, hey, something's going on. I can't do this. And then we have that 5-phase health mentality right there. We get this line that stops, and at that line we see symptoms going down, we see the energy threshold going up, we see this drain that says detox, we see this line that says reserve energy is increasing, we see this whole concept of remineralization and a restorative range. Well, what the heck, that's a lot of information in one thing. So we go down, and you have to have a basic understanding of the 5 phases, which is on the left now. You'll see that what we talk about, phase 1, environmental protection. And I always describe it as pure air, pure food, pure water, and EMF protection. I'll move over so I'm in the center there. And so let's clean up our environment. Let's clean up and be in a place that we're changing the environmental load on our body, because your body's as healthy as it can be based upon the environment that it adapts to. It's called homeostasis. Everybody's as healthy as you can be. And that can be a scary thought when you think about it. This is as healthy as I can be. It's based upon the world that you've created inside your cells, whether they have what they need, if there's a deficiency, or whether there's an excess. I've got too much, I can't process this. And then Reams described that, Carrie Reams, he described that as, hey, if you can't handle this load, then there's a deficiency because your body doesn't have what it needs in order to take care of the load. Make sense? So phase 2 is identifying your cause. Let's test you. Let's look and see. Let's do RBTI. Let's look at your blood. I do electrodermal screening. Let's test you and see what your stressors are, environmental, chemical, microbial. Let's identify your burdens. Phase 3, supplements, support. You're not going to get it from food. I mean, as much as we would like to, and as much as we have created, a handout that explains RBTI and the basis of, if you're in this range with your urine pH, eat these foods. If you're in this range, eat these foods. If you're here, you should eat a little bit of these foods and a lot of these foods, And we're trying to, because we're looking at the prominent minerals that are in those foods that Reams identified, that said if your chemistry is suggestive of this, these are the foods that are going to move your chemistry back to the ideal. That's the whole basis of my second book. Let's give you something practical to look forward to. But supplementation. And so the whole thing about supplementation is, if we go back to that restorative health model and we look at that restorative health picture for a second, the whole basis of supplementation is to turn around, and where you see that line go up here from that threshold line, come across and have that stair step up and raise, all of a sudden you've taken your threshold and you've raised it because your body has what it needs. Hey, I can tolerate more of a crap because I've got more going on. So phase 4 is detoxification, because it just happens. If you go and look at any history of how the body heals, you have to go through a discharge phase. It's a healing phase, and you have to eliminate, you have to detoxify. And so detoxification is short-term crappiness for long-term happiness. Bottom line, it's not fun to detox. But if your RBTI chemistry is in the pattern of detox, you don't feel totally crappy, but you'll feel a little sluggish, but you're not going to find yourself in a hospital. And that's what I've learned just from the practice of doing this. And phase 5 is self-awareness. So why self-awareness? And the reason being is, if we go back to that restorative health model, oh no, what did I just do? Hold on. Let's see. Restorative health model. There we go. And so we raise that threshold. We open up the drain. You got that detox coming. You have that reserve energy building because we're taking the mineral supplementation and we're doing what we need. So we're now gaining more energy than we're consuming. And then those symptoms drop off, but there's that red line across that says symptoms in it. In between that, we should probably put self-awareness. So the idea is, hey, I'm below my threshold, my body can do what it needs, but there's still this basis of self-awareness. So we also put together that basic concept, just to summarize that again, was the buckets. Hey, I'm toxic. I can't handle it. I'm dumping all this crap. I've got bad water, EMF, mycotoxins, environmental pesticides, genetically modified food, just crap going in my body. And I'm consuming more of a burden than my body can handle it. So when your body exceeds your capacity to handle it, things break down, period. So what we want to do is fall into that detox pattern, pure air, pure food, pure water, EMF, lower the toxins, open up the drain, buddy. Let's put you in sauna sometimes. Let's do infrared. Sometimes we're doing colonics, but if you notice on there, one person, it says that to just detoxify without removing the obstacles and supporting the body's restorative health potential through phase 1 and 3 can improve your well-being. Hey, I'll feel better, but if not maintained, your symptoms are going to return. You can pay to detox all you want, but if you don't turn around and deal with the causation of disease, you are not going to find your answers. So when we look at that balanced chemistry, you keep that pure air, pure food, pure water, lower your toxin load, but your drain is getting rid of something that it can handle. Your body is able to handle the basics of what's going on. So how do you do that? And so we always teach this aspects of analytical. Let's look at an analytical approach versus a diagnostic approach. And that's where the aspect of RBTI comes in. I have talked about RBTI for years, and I teach it as a system of measurement. We are measuring something, and based upon that measurement, it's giving us insights as to what, if we know what perfect is. Let me see there. I know. Oh, look at this, people. Annie just set me up for this. If you know perfect, right? the potential of, when you know any movement away or towards perfect is improved energy, or any movement away from perfect is a decline in energy. So we look at this aspect of common sense, because we can sit here and say, hey, eat 1,300 calories, and that does not mean 3 bowls of ice cream a day, right? But then the bricks is the sugars and potential energy. The pH of the urine is the overall energy efficiency. The pH of the saliva is the quality of your bile strength and digestive capacity for that liver. The conductivity gives us the idea of salts and the thickness of body fluids, that osmotic regulation of things moving in the body. That cell debris is how well we're getting rid of our cells and the stress on our kidneys. And those nitrates give us the idea of protein building versus protein breakdown. And when we turn around and measure these things, we do our numbers, and we run a full set of numbers, and then we turn around and we can look at each one of those. And when we look at them, bricks, the first one, potential energy. As brick is too high or too low, it affects oxygen availability. So we have ranges. And so we try to teach a range, that if we can get you in to a range, and that's the only chart I don't have for you today, is a range chart. And so when the ranges of the bricks go too high or too low, it affects oxygen availability. And if you have low sugars, people, those symptoms are not fun. Lightheadedness, dizziness, all of these nasty symptoms. You can have hallucinations, feel like you're crashing. High sugars, foggy brain, can't think. And these symptoms are aggravated when we have other specific nutritional deficiencies, particularly when we're looking at something like potassium. So after you look at the potential energy of the bricks, because, again, it represents the potential or available energy that's there. And Ream says, hey, if it's 1.5 to 2, you are maximizing your oxygen potential and what available energy you have. So then we look at the pHs, and the pHs basically are the speed of energy. If the pHs are too low and they're acidic, things are moving too fast, because pH is a measure of resistance. So the more resistance, the slower things go. So the higher the pH number, the more resistance. So with high pHs, the BC range, digestion's too slow. And you can be constipated. You can have foggy brain. You can have upper respiratory symptoms. And the digestion's too fast, you're not pulling nutrients out. And you can have diarrhea, and you can be irritable, and you can have all these nasty symptoms. So, pH, particularly of the urine, is giving us what foods to eat, because how to correct pH is based upon the calciums that you take and what you're using to improve calcium utilization. Bottom line. And so we use vitamin D to slow it down. We use vitamin C to speed it up. Vitamin C is directly correlated with available energy. We've talked about that. We've done shows. But bottom line, we're looking at how do we maximize the efficiency of energy with monitoring pH. And then you go to that conductivity. And conductivity is the ability of that energy to move from point A to point B. And basically, if it's too much conductivity, it's like static electricity, just inside of you, and it breaks down nerves and smooth muscle, period. So, and what drives that up? The thing that we're all exposed to, if you're buying anything processed, is sea salt. Sea salt just drives up conductivity. Hey, it'll stimulate your adrenal glands for a short-term cortisol burst, but long-term, you're going to get adrenal burnout. And so the whole idea of conductivity, we measure that to get an idea of that energy being able to get where it needs to be, but it tells us information, whether we're building energy, whether we're breaking down, because those first 3 values make up what we call energy in. And then the last 3 values, which include salt, again, salt, cell debris, and nitrates, tell us energy out. So cell debris is basically this measurement of how we're dumping our cells. Are we getting rid of the bad cells? Because God's not to fixing cells. He's into getting out with the old and putting in new. So we look at how well our body is eliminating these cells. And if we're eliminating not enough when we're detoxing, then there's an issue. You'll see kidney issues. You'll see typically you'll see water and holding issues, which can affect vision, which can affect all types of symptoms. Hey, I'm holding water. How many of you hold water and gain 3 pounds in one day and lose it the next? And then finally, we look at those nitrates, And so, let me get those nitrates there, and bam. So nitrates are measuring ureas, and basically they give us an idea where I didn't mention, but pH gives us an idea of identifying symptoms on a y-axis, and nitrates give us an idea of symptoms on an x-axis, left or right side of the body. They give us an idea of our body's ability to break down proteins in food. So if you have the top number, that nitrate is telling you whether your liver and pancreas are making the enzymes and being able to build healthy cells. Whereas the bottom number, that yellow ammonia level, is saying, hey, I've got toxic nitrates and I'm not building my cells the way that I should. And so there are symptoms that go with that. Low nitrates is potassium deficiency. Wow, heart palpitations, can't think, can't focus. When the total nitrates are low, you can see weird things like brain tumors, and these symptoms, these numbers just guide. And I'm trying to help people to understand what these numbers are doing totally for us. I hope that makes sense. So when we're looking at urea, it's giving us an idea of that dumping, that detox. Is our body putting out the waste, those nitrates, and is the waste a waste that's representative of the ability to build healthy cells or not? And that's the main thing that we're trying to look at here. And so magnesium, if those nitrates are too high, you can have angina and heart attacks and just all kinds of muscle cramps and achiness. And then you also, when you see those urea symptoms, those ammonia levels go up, you typically see an overgrowth in the gastrointestinal tract, and people need probiotics. And every one of these numbers are guiding us as to how to support. So when we're looking at the numbers, we're trying to look at this big picture. What's going on? Let's look at a big picture and go from there. And that I wanted to take this time to try to do that. This morning I don't have a lot of time. I'm hoping that gives you guys some information. I noticed you guys posted some numbers. Improvement, I think, 78-year-old. I don't know why it says 20. 5.5. There we go. 5.5, 5.6. I don't know whose numbers those are, because the guy that we were talking about last time was 80, I believe. There he is, 80. 7.5. If he's got a 7.5 bricks, yes, the liver's responding better, but you can see that 5/9, the guy needs, he's starting to utilize potassium. You got to control that bricks. You have got to control that bricks. And that sugar to salt ratio of 7.5 to 16, he's anemic. He's breaking down. He needs trace minerals. You got to keep those trace minerals up. That's where I would say, hey, a little sea salt is not going to be a bad thing, but you got to flush that bricks out. That's just way too high. And then also we have 2.4, 6.2 over 7.5. That you've got some digestive issues. You've got things. You look at those numbers, those pHs are saying that your bile, same with Daniel, that saliva pH is saying that that bile is way too low. And Daniel, I think you need to calibrate your refractometer, because I do not believe that you have a Brix of 9.2 with a conductivity of 20. And same with Luke. I double checked the calibration of that refractometer with a Brix of 7.5 to 16. You just want to make sure that it's not your data going on right there. So I hope that you guys that this is a pack full of information, that it's something that you guys can go back and saying, okay, what is all this about? Why are we doing it the way that we're doing it? Because we're trying to clean up our environment. We're trying to live a lifestyle that's conducive for us, and we're trying to have an analytical perspective of what that lifestyle tells us. So I'm going to cut loose. 8 p.m. Wow. It is 10 a.m. here. So, and I've got a day ahead of me. I hope that is helpful. I thank you guys for tuning in. I will be back next week with Annie is the plan, and hopefully might even another handout. We'll see what happens. But thank you for tuning in. I hope you guys share these shows. I hope you give the blue thumbs up. And just have a wonderful weekend. Enjoy this weather, and may God bless you all. Thank you.